Hi, I'm James Muir. Welcome to another Make More Noise screencast. What we're going to be looking at today is another free plugin. This time it's single Mault SE from F-Expansion. It's a distortion plugin, which obviously throws up all kinds of exciting possibilities. The URL you need to browse to download this is quite complicated, so what I'll do is I'll do a little write-up, stick it on our Tumblr and put all the links and stuff in there, and I'll put a link to our Tumblr in the video so you know where you're going to download it. One other thing to note, you're going to need an F-Expansion user account to download and authorize this plugin. I set it all up this morning, took me about 5 minutes, so no big deal, but definitely worth doing. So this is single Mault SE, courtesy of F-Expansion, and by the looks of it, Sweetwater. So let's open our Logic session. To quote the TV chefs again, here's one I made earlier. So in our session here, we've got basically BFD drum kit, which is also from F-Expansion. Some of you may be familiar with that already, so that's playing our drums. Then we've got Logic's own electric piano, EVP88, playing some chords. EXS24 playing a bog standard electric bass sound, and then we've got ES1 doing a little synth lead. Let's have a look at single Mault then. So here's the plugin interface, or the GUI if you prefer. It looks on the face of it quite complicated for a distortion plugin. You've obviously got drive, which is the amount of distortion. Then you've got saturate on and off, and limit on and off. We've got a tone control and a tone drive, a dynamics function, the amount of gain coming in, so how loud the signal is when it hits the single Mault, and the output gain. I think this is probably the most critical knob in the whole thing. I think I've said this before, but I'll repeat it for those who've not seen my videos before. You need to match your levels when you do this kind of stuff. Distortion normally adds volume. When things are louder, we tend to think they sound better. So you can, using the bypass knob in Logic, just A, B, back and forth, use adjusting the output gain to make sure you're not turning it up and giving yourself an artificially inflated idea of how good that the plugin sounds. And then finally down here in the bottom right hand corner, we've got the mix knob. So with it all the way over to dry, you would have just the clean sound before it was processed. All the way over to wet, you'd have 100% distortion. And if memory serves, I had this set to about 70%, so that's a sort of 70-30 mix of distortion and the clean sound of the original drum kit. Little preset browser up here. Quite a lot of presets with this one compared to some of the free plugins we've dealt with in the past, and as you can see, they've named them quite usefully so you can have a clear idea of what they're for. But I think I always say this, I'm just going to repeat myself anyway. You've just got to get in there and experiment and see what sounds good to your ears. So I started with this on the warm-up drums preset, and then I've obviously just tweaked it to taste from there. So let's pass some audio through this and have a listen. I'm just going to mute the rest of our tracks and we'll listen to our drums. So at the moment we've got single Mault bypassed, and this is what the drums sound like. Okay, let's have a listen to that with the single Mault engaged and on the warm up your drums preset. So you can hear it kind of immediately gives it an old school sort of breaksy vibe on that warm up your drums preset. What I'm going to do now is I shall leave this loop up, get those drums cycling, and I'm just going to have a play around with the knobs while it plays, and you can have a listen. A couple more controls I ought to just make you aware of. These are the type of distortion that you've got selected. So you've got from diodes, op amps, FETs, transistors and tubes. And then you've got the tone knobs down here, and it's got little pop-up helper things. So hopefully if I browse the mouse over, it'll show you what it's doing. So the tone mode is working in band mode there, high mode, low mode, or off. I think that was in band from my memory. Let's just reload the preset to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to drop it into play, have a fiddle with the knobs, and you should hear that we can do anything from sort of screaming distortions to almost kind of like gated effects on some of the settings, which can be quite interesting and quite inspiring. Let's have a listen. So you should be able to hear there's a decent amount of flexibility there, and I think with some automation thrown in, there's some very creative possibilities. Just going to browse back to that original preset, because that's what I set everything up with. And let's just have a listen to these other sounds. So we've got a bog standard Logic EVP 88 playing some chords on electric piano, which sounds like this with no Mault. So add a bit of fuzz to that. And then we've got an EXS24 playing a picked bass sample, which is frankly so dull, it is almost unbelievable. Let's see if we can make that a little bit more spicy. And finally our lead sound, which is from ES1, which is, I think, Logic's oldest built-in synth, just on the default patch. I mean, almost all the sound we're getting here is generated by single Mault and by the tape delay plugin we've got instantiated. So again, quick listen to that. Which I think's made a pretty drab sound pretty cool. And finally, I'm just going to bypass everything, play round once, and then I'll bring everything in. And now with all of our effects back in, so the only thing that we're using which isn't single Mault, oh, press play accidentally. The only thing we're using which isn't single Mault is Logic's tape delay plugin. So there you go, that's single Mault SE from Expansion and Sweetwater. Free distortion plugin available for download now. Have a quick look on our Tumblr and I'll bang the download link up there at the same time as I download the video, or our Twitter will have the download link as well. I've been James Muir, hope you enjoyed the plugin. Thanks to Expansion and Sweetwater, and thanks to you for watching. Bye bye.